Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price, co-founder of BILLY Footwear. And today we have a very, very special guest. I don't even know where to start because I am absolutely intrigued by this young woman. She is out of Perth, Australia. There's a bit of a time zone difference here, so it's actually tomorrow for her. But man, I don't even know where to start, so I'm just going to introduce her. Her name is Miss Emily Pryor. Emily, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So Emily, as I say, I don't even know where to start because there's so many things about your story and your family that just have me so interested and so intrigued. I'm so intrigued. But I guess what I'll start with is you and I are we're both wheelchair users. Now I'm in a wheelchair because I have a spinal cord injury, but you're in a wheelchair or use a wheelchair because of cerebral palsy. Is that correct? So when it comes to cerebral palsy, I don't really know much about it. So I was hoping you could help me kind of understand what it is and how it affects the body.
So when I was little, I had a little bleed in my brain, which meant I would have cerebral palsy, and it just means that my legs work a bit differently, and it's harder for me to do some things, and I have to do things differently. But I can walk. I just use my wheelchair to get around, like at school, for example, like to get around quicker. And so yeah.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, because I've seen some of the posts you've done on Instagram where some are in your chair, some are when you're out walking around. And I don't know, you are a very, very active girl. And I just find that so inspiring. So with all the things that you are doing, when I've been kind of following you, I see that you're active in sports. I see that you're active in the media. I see you're active with modeling. And I was just curious to know, of all those things, all the extracurricular activities that you do, what was the first one that you started to do?
I think it was modeling because I was looking through a catalogue with my mum and I asked why there was no one like me and I wanted to change that. So my mum helped set me up an Instagram account and we started posting photos to show people that people with disabilities can be represented in the media and what it's like to live with a disability. And we started gaining followers and it kind of went from there.
That's so great. So speaking of Instagram account, how can people follow you? What's your handle?
Emily J. Pryor _
At Emily J. Pryor _. Okay, great, cool. And some of the stuff you have up there is incredible. And one that comes to mind right now is the post that you did of you being on the cover of Target.
Yeah.
So can you walk me through that experience?
That was a really fun, awesome experience. So the creative director of Target went through to starting with Julius and they basically found me through there and they asked me, do you want to be in like one of our Target catalogs? And I was like so excited. I've always wanted to be in a toy catalog especially, and it was really fun. And I got to get my hair and makeup done. And I love how I was the first cover girl with a disability on a catalogue for Target Australia. And yeah.
That is so cool. And so how long ago was that? Was that a few years ago?
So I think the first one was like 2016, something like that. And it was really fun. And I hope to do it again.
So you said the first one. When was the second one?
I think it was a couple of years later, like 2018. And I was one last year on the cover for like another toy catalog.
Oh wow. That is so amazing. And then I also see that you're it seems like you're a brand ambassador for multiple brands.
So yeah, I work with a couple of brands. Um, I'm an ambassador for Disability Sports Australia and this other brand called Modibody. Um, and yeah, it's really fun working with brands, and I get to like try on stuff and give it a review. And I also work with Billy shoes, obviously, and Every Human, and I love it because it's super fun to work with brands and to like see how they want to be inclusive and yeah.
Wow. So there's so much in there that you just talked about that I want to cover. But before we get to the Billy shoes and Every Human, I wanted to touch on the disability sports, because that just has me so intrigued, because I've seen these pictures of you with is it a javelin? Is that what you have?
Yeah, so I also do seated throws for athletics. So I do javelin, shot put, and discus. Discus is probably my favorite and the one I'm good at most. But I do love all of them and I love getting involved. And I've gotten a few records here and there for under 16s, Australian records. So I was very excited when I got it. It was like 2 meters something, but it was so good. And then I beat it again, and I keep beating it, and I do competitions now, and yeah, and
So let me ask you, because I know that it, it seems like to get to that type of level, you have to work really hard, like a lot of workouts, a lot of commitment and dedication. So before I ask you about what you do to work out, how did you get involved? Like, what did you see someone else doing that and it inspired you?
so for my athletics, my sister started doing it, and I was kind of just sitting on the sidelines a little bit kind of bored, so I wanted to get involved. So I started doing some training, and like a little bit before that, I also received my first race chair, like a little bit before COVID, but because of like the COVID times and we were in lockdown, I couldn't really use it because like the athletics track and stuff was closed. But I can't wait to get back into it. And it was also funded by Paralympics Australia. And
Wow.
yeah.
Now, does that mean, if it was funded by Paralympics Australia, is that something you're going to pursue?
Mm, I would one day probably want to go to the Paralympics. I think it'd be a really amazing experience.
Man, most definitely. I mean, and Olympians, I'm always so inspired by Olympic athletes. I really am, because it's it's more than the skill, I guess. The part that I'm so inspired by is someone is taking something that they love and putting all of their effort that they possibly can into it because they love it, in the spirit of trying to get better and in the spirit of just trying to do the absolute best that they possibly can. And that's the stuff that I love. And it really, like, being on the sidelines, you use the word sidelines, but me being on the sidelines, just kind of watching like your Instagram handle and seeing all that you do. I mean, I just see that commitment and dedication. And I just think it is just so cool.
Yeah.
So another thing that keeps you busy is, I noticed that you are an actor.
Yeah, so that kind of all started when I started to do little commercials for like TV and stuff. And then I kind of got sent an audition for Rocky and Me. And that was a really fun audition to do because I could really relate to it because that girl had a disability like me. And then I also have done a mini YouTube series, some short films that I've made and entered into film festivals. Um, and we did a series during COVID. It was a TV series called Me at Home. So there was like people from all around Australia showing what they did in isolation, and it was all made and created while people were at home. So it was a really good series.
Oh my goodness gracious. I look at your whole resume here of all the things that you've done, and I mean, my mind is just really just kind of blown away. So, you know, when you look at all you've done so far, like what's next? Like what does the future hold?
Um, I obviously want to keep doing what I'm doing and be an actor. And I've also, since I was about 6, I've like always wanted to like work with animals. So I would love to be like a zookeeper or work at like an animal shelter or something.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You know, I've never been to Australia, and Australia has so many animals that I've only seen in a zoo, and it would be
Mm,
so cool to see up in person because I would love to be able to see a koala bear, and I would love to be able to see a kangaroo.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if kangaroos are all over the place like I guess we in the States think
Well,
are in Australia, but
where we live, like there's like a big bush and like there's kangaroos everywhere, and we travel around like Australia quite a bit. So we always see like kangaroos and emus, and it's really cool. Like they're everywhere. Like you might not think they're everywhere, but they are.
they just seem like a really cool animal. Like just and just the thought of being able to jump that high, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
And once I even saw a koala in a tree, like in someone's backyard. It was like that. That's how like they're all over the place.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we don't have that in Seattle. So I wanted to ask you. So you mentioned Billy Shoes, and you also mentioned Every Human. So for those that are listening in, Every Human is a retail partner that we work with down in Australia. They're based out of Sydney, and they ship all around Australia. And it's been just so awesome to work with Every Human. But we got connected with Emily because Emily was working with Every Human. So Emily, I got to ask, how did you get connected with Every Human?
So the Matt reached out to us, and he saw my Instagram account and he liked what I stood for. So he basically asked if we could, try some Billy shoes and some other things like that. And we've just been working together ever since.
I love it how it's so simple like that, right? Just actually picking up the phone or just sending an email or a text or whatever, just
Yeah,
saying, hey, it'd be fun to work with you, and then it just turns into something much, much bigger.
yeah.
Another thing that of all the things that I was seeing that you're doing and representing, I think the one piece of your story that inspires me the most is when I read that you're a mentor.
Yeah.
I just think that is really, really cool because there's lots of families out there, and there's lots of other people out there that may be similar in what's going on, and to be able to offer kind of some, maybe not necessarily advice, but just like kind of some insight. I know that like I'm in a wheelchair because I have a spinal cord injury. I fell out of a 3-story window, and I basically broke my neck, and it put me in a chair. And there's so many other folks out there that have spinal cord injuries, and when they see a wheelchair and they find themselves in a wheelchair, unfortunately, there's this mindset that they really struggle with moving forward. And I was just kind of curious to know, for like being a mentor, first off, before we talk about you being a mentor, I'm assuming you were a mentee. I'm assuming you were receiving kind of input from other, folks with CP.
Yeah.
And what was, can you recall like some of the encouraging words that were given to you?
So I have a mentor, Robin, who has a disability like me, and she's just really encouraging, and she always encouraged me, and she just gets me because she has a disability like me, so we could really relate to each other.
Yeah.
And
So then now you being a mentor, what do you say to other folks?
so I help them like with their therapy, and I help them, like learn to love their disability, and I help them through their therapy, and like I encourage them and I let them know that it's okay to have a disability, because if we were all the same, like that would be really boring. And 1 in 5 people live with a disability. So it's really important to mentor younger kids to show them that having a disability is okay. It's just a part of who you are.
That is so, that is absolutely beautifully worded. Now, to make it a little, maybe not more complicated, but if you were to speak to a parent that has a child with a disability, what would you say to that parent?
I'd probably say let let your kids be kids, and don't do too much therapy. Let them have fun. And my mum was really good at that. Um, let them have fun. Let them do things themselves, and let them be independent.
That's awesome. And then what would you say to other kids that actually don't have a disability? What would you say to them?
Be inclusive. Don't exclude people just because they're different. Because we're all humans. So don't exclude us, and respect people with a disability.
Mm. So beautiful, so eloquent. I love the word inclusion, because when I think of the word inclusion, I truly think that it's not necessarily a matter of here's a group that's not being picked up, let's bring them into. Inclusion is just the whole group, everybody being able to come to the party, everyone being able to come to whatever it is to have a great time. When we started as a brand, we used the word universal design to be able to make some sort of like thing that everyone could enjoy. So everything that you said in terms of inclusion, man, you just nailed it. You absolutely nailed it.
Thank you.
You know, Emily, there's so many things. There's so many things I want to ask you, and I really think that we could talk forever. But there's so many things about you that just so inspire me, and you're adding so much value. And I know that there's so many folks out there that are listening to your words right now and are going to be receiving value from your words. But I do have one final, really important question to ask you.
Okay.
If you were to make yourself a giant sundae of ice cream, what would the flavor be?
Probably cookies and cream. Like that's a really good flavor. Like my mom doesn't like it, but I do.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. Well, Emily, this is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Why? It's really good.
So wait, so let me ask you, so let's dig into this. Cookies and cream, is it the one that actually has kind of the raw dough in it?
Yeah, like the Oreo pieces.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, this is fantastic. And I thank you so much for your time today. I mean, this was so good. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. Every time I see a post of you, especially when you're wearing our shoes and that big smile on your face, I mean, it just really warms my heart. So this really was a pleasure for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, this was another episode for Open Book. So we'll have another one next week. Until then, take care.
Bye.